Hi, Phil Lindsay here at East Durham College, and we're here with the head honcho, Mr. Dave Binns, and quite a lot going on at the moment, Dave, isn't there?
There is quite a lot going on. It's never ending actually with the amateurs and the pros all to deal with, and sometimes now it's just snowballing where we've got events for the professional going on the same weekend as the amateurs, which is the case this coming weekend. We've got Warren Baster down at Liverpool on the Saturday, and then two of us amateurs are boxing over at down in Yorkshire at Sheffield on the Sunday.
So it's bottlenecking.
Although having said that, with having a professional licence, I'm not allowed to do the corners at the amateur shows. I'm allowed to coach them and of course prepare and work with the other coaches that we've got here, but I can have no involvement in an actual show.
Right.
Even including warm-ups. So
that's one of the restrictions between the pros and the amateur side of things.
Yeah. Initially they brought it where you could do both, but now there's been a restriction put in, whereas I can continue to coach amateurs, but I'm not allowed to take part in any tournament.
Well, that makes loads of sense, doesn't it?
Aye, exactly. Let's not go down that one.
Yeah. So you mentioned obviously new additions. Well, first of all, I did an interview with Warren before there. Obviously, he's well known on the amateur side of things. GB settled for many years.
Yes.
You must be very excited to have him joining the camp, as it is.
I am. Yeah. It was something that I was expecting, but it's the new addition and the quality is a cracking kid. He's good to train.
Yeah.
He likes to learn, and hopefully I'm keeping up to his learning. It's just that the size difference. We've got not a problem, but we now have to. I'm looking outside for sparring. We've had some really good offers from some cracking coaches around, and so we're sort of getting through that. What might have been a problem, but I mean, actually having him in the gym and working alongside Johnson and Glenn and Darren and that, Lyndon Watt's still in here, so he's mixing in very well with the lads, and it's a pleasure to be working with actually.
So he's going to be fighting this Saturday on the
Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, Bill.
Fight that one, isn't it?
That's a good bout, isn't it?
So he's going to be fighting on that, and he's also going to be, obviously, injuries permitting, he's going to be fighting on the Phil Jeffrey show on the 20th of November.
Yeah. That's, of course, you can't go counting your chickens before the hatch, but we're hoping for a good performance next weekend, smoothly through without any cuts, hopefully, and then ready for the 20th at Rainton Meadows.
And with Warren just turning 30 now, it's he's expecting, especially with his background, that he might get put through a bit faster than your standard guy turning over. But you've got to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, we just really have to wait and see what happens. I mean, it's 30. He's had a good amateur career. He's prolonged it through choice and chosen now to try his hand at the professional game, and hopefully if things go well, certainly at the higher weight groups, you see, you've maybe get a smooth run through.
Yeah, well,
but you can never ever count your chickens, can you, in this boxing game? Yeah, that's boxing. So let's just take it one step at a time and see how it goes.
So you got the first step with Warren on Saturday, and you've also had one of your boys due to turn over on the 20th of November, Darren Richardson as well.
Yes, Darren's making his debut on 20th. So going to be a busy day that day.
Yeah.
There's Johnson, Darren and Warren boxing on that bill. We would actually have had Glenn on, but that bout's fallen through for one reason or another.
Is Glenn still planning to go down to light welter?
Yes, yeah. That's the plan. I mean, that's a sensible plan.
Yeah. I think there's a few of us on the region for a while, but the thing with Glenn, he was getting away with it at welterweight, and as long as you keep getting away with it, then why change something?
He's putting some cracking performances at welterweight, but when you get down to that championship level, when you're getting towards the top, you're actually not boxing welterweights. The size difference between him and Sam Eggington, there's no excuses made, by the way. Sam Eggington's a good kid. That performance by Glenn was far under par. Anybody that knows Glenn Foot would know that. But one absolute telling point was the size difference in the two lads. and Glenn were actually on his way. He were already nearly halfway to light welterweight with his training programme for that fight. I'd actually spoken to him on the day of the weigh-in and said, "You've laughed at me in the past when I've told you, but you are actually a light welterweight with the right attention to detail and what have you." Then, but he's a class kid, Glenn. We're just not in line for the bout on the 20th, so things are best to be just left rather than taking a bout when he's not in 100%
Oh, absolutely,
shape.
And then you can
soon
start early next year. And
well, after that last bout, what a cracking bout, the Kurt Goodings bout. You know,
ridiculously good.
It'd be ridiculous to put him down from that. He's absolutely class, and if he's in the right place mentally and physically, he can do great things.
Obviously, when he took on Sam Aggerton, there was the size disadvantage which was apparent on the night, but also, from my point of view, Glenn had a few fights where he was going to be fighting for the English title, British title eliminator, and they were getting cancelled or different things, and he was having to, no disrespect, but he's fighting people like William Warburton and Ryan Hardy, when Egerton's fighting championship level fighters and sharpening himself up. And I think as much as the weight situation, that was a big disadvantage for Glenn going in through no fault of his own or anybody else's. But if he go down and level again, because it was a great fight with Kirk, and Kirk's a good level fighter, if he goes down and level again, there's a danger when you can get complacent.
You can get complacent.
When you're fighting below your level, you know, and that's no disrespect to any...
No, that's a factor, but the thing is, Glenn Foote on his form, any form that he's shown as a professional so far, would have had certainly a different impact with that Egerton fight had he been on top of himself. And things that have come out since the bout have explained why Glenn just weren't at his best that night. But it wasn't anything. I would never try and take anything away from Sam Egerton, and he won the bout fair and square. But that worked Glenn Foote by a long stretch. Even just the enthusiasm and the keenness that he displayed against Kirk, that worked because Kirk were a less quality. That Glenn Foote
had the hunger back.
Were back in the form that he and it worked his very best. But he,
I think you mentioned to me after about 2 or 3 rounds at ringside. You mentioned,
he's back at it.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah. I can remember turning around and there were 1 or 2 people totting rounds up, and I can remember saying it's 3-1.
Yeah.
And for me, Glenn went from 5 and 6. Kurt put in a fantastic performance as well. Absolute full credit. But
I've seen him at Thomas Asomba's do on, and the thing with Kirk, I was saying at light welter, what could he do at light welter? Because obviously he came in for lightweight. He's probably tight at the weight lightweight, but
you talk about boxers and the weights, and sometimes I think boxers fight at the weight that they wish they were. You can get a body down to a weight, but when you're going into a 10 or 12 round boxing match, you've got to be very careful, because very often I've seen champions lose, not because they're beaten by a better man, but beaten
on the scales or drained at the end.
By the methods that they've used to get to the weight.
I think that's maybe one of the reasons why you're getting a lot more nutritionists getting involved in the sport now, because you think about it, you get nutritionists in American football, all these different things, but you don't need to make weight for those sports. They might have to have targets for weight from their coaches and trainers, but in a sport where you have to make weight, it's even surprising that you're only really getting an influx of nutritionists over the last couple of years.
Absolutely massively important, and to have people who know what they're talking about and know what they're administering. It's been far too many years where people have been losing weight through losing fluid, etc. That's dangerous. And I've been well aware of that for years, and
especially when the weigh-in's on the same day as well.
Oh, it's murder. And we have a nutrition. Nicola looks after that side of the job, and obviously I'm very careful not to try and send a lad into a boxing ring ill-prepared, or what you might call overworked, overstarved, or drained of fluid. it's massively important is nutrition and hydration.
Well, I know from our previous conversations, you are one of these boxing coaches where the boxer's safety is paramount above everything else.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know it's not the case with everybody out there, but it's, if I had a, I'm not saying you're the only one in the region either.
No.
But if I had my child was going to go to boxing, it would be someone with a mentality, someone like yourself, you know.
It's everybody's somebody's kid, and even when they're 20 and 30-year-old people, they still need looking after because they need looking after from themselves.
Exactly.
You know, often if you say to any boxer, we've been offered this bout, do you want it? Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not the right fight at the right time, and you know, and I mean, I can make mistakes. I'm only human, but I try my best to make sure we get the right bouts at the right time with the right opponents, and not by that. I'm not meaning that we have a big advantage.
No, it's the right test.
You know, just
make
the
sure
right
that
bouts.
they are ready.
They're coming on well. I think they're coming on very well, and it's touch wood, everything's going okay. We've had a couple of setbacks, but you're going to get that.
That's what life throws at you, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So we've got Warren fighting on Saturday. You've got Glenn's missed out for the 20th, but he's going to be fighting light welter shortly. Yeah. And he's hungry again. Absolutely hungry.
He doesn't look in bad shape.
So you've got Johnson fighting. He's going to be fighting at 12-4 on the 20th. So he's coming down from his previous fight.
Yeah. He's been matched out of his fighting weight group, and there hasn't been any stress because there's not been anything in near sight to sort of aim for. But I would like to think that we'll get this next bout, touch wood, harm-free.
Yeah.
Onward. I'd like to start pushing for some more meaningful bouts. And his weight will, you know, it's a gradual process. It isn't the case of just having a fortnight before a bout and getting his.
Well, he was pushed towards that. Was it last year or was it earlier this year? With Taylor, was it Lewis Taylor?
With Taylor, he got down to 11 stone 7 easily, comfortably.
So he was getting pushed forward then, and he was ready then. But obviously, getting the injury and having to have the time out.
Yeah. It's just and that time out, he came back, and I'm thinking, crikey, look. You don't think a 20-odd-year-old lad is going to grow, but I'm not get him heading back towards middleweight, and then we'll see what if he can't comfortably make middleweight, then there won't be a problem with it. He'll have to move up to super middleweight.
He can certainly get a super middleweight. That's for sure.
Super middleweight is easy, yeah. But I wouldn't kill it.
But if he can make middle and he can do it comfortably and safely, then
we will know, and we'll know well in advance that he can do it comfortably. Got on a scale and keep on top of everything.
And the idea is, once you know definitely with the weights, I was saying to Johnson before, he was saying, I've always been able to get down, let's hope I can do it this time. Sometimes the body just refuses, you know.
Wish things and they don't come off. We can't be wishing it, we've got to know the facts.
Yeah.
And Nicola's right on top of that side of the job with body fat content.
She's
and
such
whatever.
a multitasker, isn't she?
She's a cracking lass, she's good.
So, obviously the fourth man in the camp, he's not a new man in the camp, but Darren Richardson, he's looking at making his debut on the 20th.
Yes.
He's got to get his brain scan passed, and that's the final thing, box to tick, so to speak.
Yeah, once that's done, is.
I met Darren for the first time at the party on Saturday, and I didn't do much mingling because I was just spending so much time talking to him and listening to him. He was
the character, isn't he?
For 21 years old, his focus and knowledge, and it was just there.
All he's done is since he came to boxing club as a young lad, I've been criticised for not having him fighting too many times. He should have more bouts. He's done absolutely fantastic. His attitude's been brilliant to training. Listen to everything you say.
Giant for the weight.
Class.
He's big for the weight anyway.
He's big for the weight. He's very powerful. And he
moves well as well. I was watching this just working on the floor before.
He moves well. He boxes well. Everything's been very well trained and very well drilled. And he also guards very well as well. I'm in this brain scan situation. I should think will come back well because I think the lad who was took.
Exactly. You've been criticised for not giving enough fight.
Yeah, well, exactly. He's not overboxed and certainly not oversparred. He's done some fantastic sparring with us. He's been a great companion for Glenn through Glenn's pro career, but it's always been controlled and giving Glenn the sort of sparring that needed maybe on the sharp side,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that I would not use one of my boxers to be punched all over at ring by
Not by Glenn Foot, no.
not by Glenn or anybody else,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But he's a cracking lad, he's Darren. So I'm expecting him to do well, and I think he'll thrive off the changeover from amateur to pro.
Well, he's certainly got the right mentality. He lives the right life. I could tell that, like I said, from meeting him the first time on Saturday night. But after just seeing him working, it's just, I'm a great student of technique, just of all different sports and things like that. And just watching the coordination with everything was just so natural and fluid. And obviously, a lot of the mixed levels on the floor. Oh, well, there you go. You see, that's what you learn at East Durham College.
I showed him that. Yeah, I'm only kidding, only joking. No, he's a good kid. He's technically good, and good technique delivers good power, and that's what I'm not.
They say you
I'm not
teach power, but you can.
You can enhance it. You can enhance it as you can with speed.
Yeah.
But timing, speed, technique can all be worked on and improved upon. Not that I'm the know-it-all at all, but certainly when you watch Darren, when he's throwing his punches, he's not hurting people for nothing. We did a session a couple of years ago, and I said he's punching nice and fast in the target, but he's not really getting the result that he ought to be getting for his workload. So we just corrected his completion of punch, etc. And
it's muscle memory, isn't it? It's just getting rid of the little habits, little tweaks.
Completing, and every punch being thrown to the completion, and he's I'm not saying he's the biggest puncher in the world, by far from it. But,
he doesn't need to be with the reach advantages he's generally going to have and things like that, as well as his footwork.
He'll do okay. I'm sure he'll do okay.
When I was talking on Saturday night, we were talking about Jamie McDonnell, who's a prime example of somebody who has long levers that doesn't throw everything into his shots, but he hits them hard enough to stop them getting to him most of the time.
To get the respect of his opponents, yeah. And that's, you don't need to be the biggest puncher on the planet or knocking everybody out in 1 round or 2. If you can get respect to your opponent so that they're not just coming walking through what you're doing. And Darren's certainly got respect in his punches.
At least enough of that,
yeah. So
that's you. Any more guys on the scene at the moment? What's happening with them?
Just at the moment, it's Lyndon Watt, for example, is still boxing, still training, but is a really heavy workload with his working life at the moment. Also,
you can't do this by halves.
No,
either.
And the other end of it is he's been boxing above his weight group, and I've said we need to get your weight gradually down beyond that.
Beyond that?
Yeah. Easily beyond that. He's only a little lad. You know?
I remember when he came out for his, I think it was his second fight, might have been his third, but he just looked so muscle bound.
Yeah.
It was like,
but it didn't transfer into his performance.
Yeah, well,
what I'm looking for is some transfer into performance, and you can look for all you want, muscly and well cut and well in, but it doesn't. If it doesn't transfer into your performance and your boxing skills are not up to scratch, or you're boxing a more powerful, naturally more powerful opponent. And so we've had his heads together in his training and his working away, but working away the constantly slow loss of body weight,
gradual,
rather than try to drop it off, which is a lot of people make that mistake, trying to lose weight too fast. And I'm hopeful that we can get him back on a track.
Yeah.
And he's also quite optimistic, and he's
a good lad, Lyndon.
He's a cracking kid. He got a couple of bad results. I'm not laughing at them.
No.
But it takes some coming back from
Absolutely.
one of those, and especially when it's as clear cut and clinical as it was. Anybody say, well, he just can't take a punch. Well, I don't think that'll be it. I don't think that's the case.
If you're fighting somebody 2 weights above you naturally, then I defy anybody to take a punch naturally.
It's easier said, easily to say that somebody's chinny or whatever people call it, but I don't think he's chinny. I think when he's right on top of it, he's had such a lack of it. He's no experience in the amateurs. I didn't coach him early on. It turns out that he only lives down the road, and he's transferred to this gym from another gym. Often I wouldn't take him to I didn't know, but he's a cracking kid. he's not a bad worker. He's a good
Yeah.
worker, and
Well, if you look at certain boxers, Johnny Nelson was the most I use him as examples. He lost his first 3 fights. He was one of the most unnatural boxers. I think he was world champion for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I know
So-
Johnny Nelson quite well. Yeah, yeah, and
It doesn't always have to start
he turned
well.
a very losing start of a pro career well around, and I'm hopeful that Lyndon can do that. He's a cracking lad. He's got ability, and he's got strength. And if we get him at the right weight and the right level of opponent,
And then you can
slowly
find out
build
what
him up.
level he can
Yeah,
get to.
exactly. We need to know what level he can get to. He's got a manager who's looking after him, well, Michael Mars, and I'm in touch with Michael, and we've sort of, there's no rush or push.
Well, there's no rush. He's still young, so
Yeah, and as I say, he's very busy with his working life at the moment. So until once that gets levelled and balanced, while he's still doing his running, he's still doing his fitness work, still.
and bringing the weight down gradually.
Yeah, rather than grafting and forgetting all about he's still on the mission of getting himself down in weight.
Well, it's adjusting your timing as well, because
Yeah.
obviously as you get later, you're going to be hopefully you should be moving faster, because you want to be moving faster when you're fighting smaller, faster people.
There's all sorts of changes to be made, but not too dramatic, really.
Well, haven't you?
And what about that magazine?
Yes, I've been asked to mention that the Ego edition of Peep magazine is live now. Make sure you check it, peepmagazine.co.uk. You might see some articles and some pictures from us in there. I don't think you've been in there yet, Dave, so I'll have to do a follow-up on that one, in the magazine itself.
Yeah, I haven't. No, I can't understand that one bit. Are you keeping that above here?
And before we finish the interview, special thanks to East Durham College.
For the massive sponsors, yeah, brilliant.
Sponsorship support and fantastic facilities here for you to do your job, and you were the guys.
Yeah, class. Thanks very much
There you go.
indeed.
Dave Binns, you're a legend.
Cheers, Phil. Thank you.